I'm going to do a little thing here, probably more in defence of preppers than anything else. Now, some of you may watch Doomsday Preppers and you know, thought these people are crazy. When they say they're prepping for a particular disaster, apparently the show will only allow you to say one of the things they're prepping for. And you've got to realise a lot of these people don't always 100% believe that there's guaranteed bona fide going to be a flaming disaster in X amount of years. I mean, some of them do with the financial thing, but I can sort of understand that. But they don't sort of all sit there saying necessarily this is going to happen and doom. Sati One, or David Sati, as his proper name is, he sort of depicts it pretty well by saying, you know, I hope nothing happens, but in case something does, I've got stuff here. And it's sort of, it's actually a lifestyle, almost like a hobby, or well, not really like a hobby. It's more like a way of thinking and a way of doing things that these preppers have. Not so much that they believe that, you know, the reptilian Illuminati are going to come out and, I don't know, bite their flaming heads off and suck their brains out or anything like that, and it's going to happen in the year 2015. You know, there's not always super duper specific things based on wild shit theories, crazy ass theories that they've come out with, and they're deliberately doing it just so that the Illuminati reptilians don't suck me brains out me eye holes or anything like that. It's more a case of their, you know, it's a mindset, it's a way of life sort of thing. And you may think they're crazy, but I'll show you why they're not, especially the ones in the city. Now, you think about a city. Now, what does a city have by definition? I think I've covered this in another video, but I'm going to cover it again. What does a city have by definition? What is it? A whole stack of people living in close proximity to each other. Now, what are the features that you need to have a city in place? Well, you got to have water piped in, natural gas piped in, electricity wired in, communications brought in with, you know, either wires or optic fibre, stuff brought in by train and stuff brought in by truck, particularly food and other products. Some products may come by ship, especially near coastal areas, and be, you know, brought down and unloaded on the docks. And you sort of look at all this and you say, what's the one common denominator here? Everything has to be bought in. Now, say for instance you have a little disruption like, oh, I don't know, let's say the natural gas goes offline for several months, as it did in Melbourne. Well, you know, you had a lot of stinky people that needed a shower then, but there are other industries that stalled as a result of lack of natural gas. There were certain, you know, places that just couldn't do their job. Well, take vermiculite and perlite exfoliators, for example. Now, these are gardening products that enter, well, potting mix and things of that nature. And they need heat to be able to turn the existing rock into an exfoliated state, which allows, you know, your rock to sort of be fluffy and absorb water and whatnot. And you say, oh, well, what's that got to do with potting mix? Well, vermiculite, for instance, we used to use at Boomer in nurseries. Now, if we didn't use it, because I saw some plants that weren't used with it, the damn plant should be lucky to get 1 in 10, if not, like, it's more like 1 in 20 would germinate, whereas almost every single one, in actuality it was 98%, would germinate with lettuce and things of that nature, 98% would germinate with a small layer of vermiculite. And you say, oh, so what? What do you mean, so what? That was the food supply for a lot of this state come out of that place. And if we've got real issues getting that, maybe there's enough in the warehouses that will be right. But, there's a lot of things that sort of get a bit of a shake-up and disrupted a lot, and you may manage to write it off on warehouse stock. But what about another thing that happened here? We ran out of diesel for about a week and a half. I mean, you just couldn't get it for love or money. It just wasn't there at any service stations except one particular one franchise, but that franchise is so few and far between, it's ridiculous. But the thing is that we ran out of diesel, essentially, aside from that odd franchise, which of course was getting inundated by everyone. So they were just about flaming, battling to keep up with the demand. For those people that were anywhere near that franchise, because there's so few of them around. And things like that, that can really shake up. If that had dragged on for 2 months, there would have been issues with food supplies. I reckon there would have been fuel rationing, or we would have had to, bring it in from overseas, which we actually did end up doing. You got to realise that the whole lot here, because it's all piped in, wired in, and stuff like that, you're running a very fine line, because some of these systems, they don't have backup trucks that they can just turn on and start running on blimmin', biodiesel or hydrogen or anything like that. They don't have that sort of stuff. There is no backup for this stuff. Why? Because they're trying to not let costs get out of control, especially for some ridiculous scenario like the diesel running out. God blimey, that had never happened. Yeah, right. Well, it did. So, in the case of cities where everything is just bought in, wired in, whatnot, piped in, you're dependent on this stuff. And if there's some sort of a disruption and they don't jump on it real quick, then, all hell breaks loose. And I couldn't believe that not only the refinery ran out of diesel, but also the fuel stations themselves. There was no warehouse stock at all, so to speak. As in the big super-duper tanks that they got into the refinery, that emptied them out of diesel. And they expected this problem to be fixed, and, as problems go, when you're fixing technical equipment, sometimes it's not the bit that's broken that you want to break, It's the, you think, oh, it's just this, we'll just do that. And then when you actually get inside and pull this apart, you find, holy hell, it's something else. It's far more serious than we thought. There's more bits broken than we thought. It's overheated, so it's destroyed more things than we thought. There may be a delay in getting the parts. It may be hard to even find where the parts can be, bought from, because a lot of them are all custom built. It's sort of, and things can get a bit out of hand like that because there isn't any backup. And especially when you're dealing with these JIT concept for stocking supermarket shelves, that they've only got 3 days food supply. If the truck doesn't come for 3 days, there won't be a cracker left in the flame in the store, except for maybe some stupid blooming fridge magnets or something like that. And you got to keep in mind that when stores run on that, yes, it's a very efficient system, but it can only have 3 days supply. And where I work, they have JIT things implemented at the workplace that I work at. And if something doesn't go right, if we have the power go off, especially if it was to go off for like 2 days, oh, hell, it'd break loose, because we wouldn't meet our orders and our targets that have been set by the people who we supply to, who, will flaming could drop us as customers, and that'll be literally millions of dollars out the flaming window if we don't abide by it. But this is a risk that you can run by running things on a JIT sort of a platform, and, that's sort of what they've got to do to make it efficient, and there is no backup option because we don't need a backup because, nothing's going to happen sort of a thing. And the pure immense of, buying extra trucks or whatever is just ridiculous. If you know what the price of a semi is, you're just about to have a heart attack if you don't know when you find out. Okay, you know, they're at least 250,000, and that's sometimes the second-hand ones. They can be $500,000 without a problem at all. This is a semi we're talking about. You see these rolling down the road all the time. Don't worry, they are unbelievably expensive. So, you know, they, of course, only buy what they need as well in regards to all that, because they won't be buying 3 trucks if they only need 2 because they're too expensive. But that's sort of where a lot of preppers come from. And although I'm not a prepper, you know, I understand a lot of their stuff, and to be quite honest, I do have a little stockpile of extra stuff here. Well, firewood, for instance, I've got 3 years' supply of this stuff here. And it's got so bad I'm running out of places to store it. I had some on the veranda, and now I've got an old car full of it in the boot/trunk of an old car. There's that much of blimmin', ugh. See the car slightly weighed down with all this stuff in the back. But yeah, that's a little thing explaining preppers to people who, from a non-prepper to people who don't really understand preppers.